Hey, Kale, I sent you a request to speak. Um, you can just go ahead and click on the button on the bottom left. It usually Twitter works a little bit faster doing it that way. Sometimes it glitches. There you are. Give me a minute. There you go. Hey, bud, hold on. Let me get Brian up here, and we're going to give it a few minutes for him to click on.
No worries. I will hang on and answer some messages.
Thank you. It'll just be a second. Brian, you there, bud?
Hey, how you doing, Sherry? Hey,
I'm
Kale.
doing great. Doing
How's it going?
great.
Great. Good talking with you again.
I'm so
You as
excited
well.
that you're on with us.
Uh, pretty uh, pretty serendipitous timing.
It certainly is, and I can't wait to get into that. But let me give you a little introduction first. Um, Kale has been working on the Range Trainer Pro application, uh, which will help players learn GTO. And he worked on that app with his partner, Matt, which we'll also talk about in a little bit. He specializes in poker information technologies, has a Hendon total life earnings of just over 34,000, with a best life cash a little over 16,000 for his 917th finish in the 2017 WSOP main event. Not too long ago, he and Veronica Brill were tag team partners at the WSOP, and she actually told me some questions to ask him, and we'll get to those in a little bit as well.
Oh no, it is
It is
on.
on.
You're in big trouble,
So,
Kale.
welcome, Kale.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm really happy to be here. Happy to be kicking off the new year with you guys, and hopefully we can cover some ground.
Well, I was so excited when Brian said he had reached out to you. So, thank you, Brian, for talking about Kale coming on for an interview with us. Um, he's always a pleasure to follow on Twitter, has a lot of involvement, of course, in the poker world. So, Kale, tell us how the Range Trainer Pro app came about. Why did you go to developing that app?
Yeah, so actually, it all stems from the WSOP run I had back in 2017. For those that aren't aware, I won a contest from down in Agranu, and I got put into the main in that year. And fortunately, the community was just so supportive, just outstanding. I had so many people reaching out, offering coaching and training stuff, and really just a whole bunch of really amazing information. But what I learned and what I discovered was there were so many good places to get ranges, but there weren't really many good ways to absorb those ranges other than simply staring at a chart and hoping that osmosis takes over. And so from that point, I kind of got this nugget of an idea. Uh, what's the best way to learn? At that point, it was prefab ranges only. And what's the best way to learn that is to learn it by playing. Well, playing can be expensive. So I thought, what if there was a way to, um, put a kind of like a simulated playing environment together, and you would get graded on that. Well, fast forward a few years, I got hooked up with Matt McDelegate, who is a world class developer, just fantastic, basically, at whatever he decides to put his mind to. We put together a minimum viable product with some pre-flop ranges that we had constructed. And a few years later, we knew that that was really valuable, but where the real true value was coming from was going to be in post flop. And so at that point, we basically decided to tattoo stupid on our forehead, and we undertook the massive job of building a post flop training environment from scratch. Obviously, for those that aren't aware, it is literally just us two. And for the development, Ryan the plant is also heavily involved with the strategy side as well. But uh, as far as developing, it is only Matt by himself. And the fact that he has built basically one app and then another new app entirely on top of it by himself, and then we've been able to run uh, about about 500 terabytes or so worth of solutions that we have in our database. We're really proud of that. We're really proud that we've done all of this with absolutely zero outside investment. We've never taken on any loans. We've never carried a negative balance of any kind. We've only invested about $300 of our own money when we first launched the product. And to do that from effectively nothing, we're really, really proud of it. We may not be the biggest, but we had the most heart and we care most about the integrity of the game.
Wow, that is so impressive. And I
Yeah.
know that lingo is right up Brian's alley. So go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I just want to say off the bat, a lot of people may not know this, but like KL and Ryan and Matt, they've been really at the forefront as we see all this bot stuff coming up. And I know that you have the stuff that happened today, but you guys have didn't just start today, that you guys were at the forefront of trying to make all of these things ethical and stuff like that. So with delaying results and things like what I'm saying, Sherry, is KL, and this is the thing that's always impressed me about you guys. It Sure, some of those things likely cost you guys money, but if you want to support a company that is, that is trying to make the game ethical, right? Like probably most people that are buying these tools aren't buying them to cheat at poker, right? So if you're on that side of the fence, then support the company that's, not building real time solvers and things like that. To my knowledge, Kale. So if you guys have switched that all around and now you guys are
No,
building bots,
no,
I
no.
understand. You know,
Well, so that's an interesting. It's a really, really important point that you bring up. Wayne Shampoo, which is obviously the training site that Matt and I co-founded together, uh, we said basically in our internal discussions before we even moved into the post-flop area. We really had some tough conversations about, all right, what do we want this to look like? What are the dangers? Remember, this was before anybody else had created one. Um, you know, like GTO Wizard and all these other sites, they were not available yet. There were private databases that were available, but nothing commercially available. But we knew, we saw that this could be a problem. We understood the dangers of building something. We even considered simply not building something at all because we saw there were some major problems. In the end, we decided to go ahead and do it in a way that we felt was ethical and something that was not able to be gotten around. Like we tried to really think through every possible way, and essentially, what we came to understand is every sort of security measure that can be put in place is circumventable. except for a timer. Everything else you can kind of, you know, work around by having multiple machines or multiple computers, whatever it may be. But you can't beat time, right? We don't have time travel yet. I
Right.
wish we did. I wish we did. I'd go back and buy more Bitcoin. But we realized that we don't even have to make the delay that long. The delay only needs to be about 15 seconds on the flip, 5 seconds on turns and rivers. And that was really ample time to make cheating impossible. Maybe you could do it for like two, maybe three hands, but you have run out of time bank very, very quickly. And
Right.
then you're basically just in no man's land and you have no idea what you're doing. And, and the thing that's so mind boggling to me about that is these widely available commercial products. Um, there's been a lot of strides made in kind of finding them, finding people who misuse the product after the fact. But it really seems to be cleaning up the milk after it's already been spilled instead of just putting a lid on the damn cup so you don't spill it in the first place. And so what I continue to advocate for and will continue to advocate for is literally just a couple of lines in people's code that adds a time delay that is completely uncircumventable, and it's free to implement. It doesn't require any extra software, or your developer doesn't have to spend a bunch of time figuring out how to make this work. It's literally a few lines of code, and it's the best solution to a very clear problem that we know exists. It will not get rid of every instance. Yes, there are people who still have private databases that can and will cheat. But the point is to, if we can get rid of 80%, maybe 90% of the commercial users that are trying to use it nefariously, that's a hell of a good start.
Oh, that's amazing information. And I love the fact that you have a solution. And, are these providers willing to listen to that solution, Kale? What do you think?
Well, I'm optimistic about the future. But so far, we I can speak only for myself. I can't speak for other companies who do similar products. Um, but we've reached out, both myself as well as people know Ryan LaPlante in the industry, very well known player for many, many years, heavily involved with Range Pro as well. Unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of interest in discussions. We have a lot of ideas on ways that we can help make the game more safe, increase game integrity, and restore faith in the system. Really, and we're under no illusions. It is going to be hard. It's going to be small progress over, not a short amount of time. It 100% will cost money. And we understand that businesses are in the business of making money. Having said that, if we get to a point where players just lose all faith in the online ecosystem, that is a death blow to poker as we know it overall, because it's an undeniable fact that the online world does indeed lead to a growth in the live realm. People don't have access to maybe a card room close to them. I'm one of those people. I live 100 miles away one way. It's a 200-mile round trip from my closest poker room. So it's not like I can just, oh, I'm going to head over to the casino and play for a few hours and then head home. That's not really an option, right? And there are literally, hundreds of thousands or even millions of people who would be interested in playing the game, but they just don't have it as an option in the live realm. And if we continue to make online feel like it's not a worthy endeavor of our time as players, whether it's recreationally or professionally, what ends up happening is people start playing it as a hobby. And then, yes, online suffers, but then things like WSOP events, people don't add that to their bucket list or plan a family vacation around that. You know, uh, those big events that are undeniably massive right now. They're awesome, and everybody, kind of maybe has this tendency to say to themselves, "Yeah, but look at these record-breaking numbers." I mean, the main event was the biggest ever this past year, and WPT and everything they're doing with their win series is fantastic and massive. Those are all very true facts. But the fact remains that we have to think about 5 years from now, not next year. And by lowering the belief in the safety of the game, we end up turning players off.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think especially for online, once those players are turned away, it's hard to bring them back to the table online. Um, I'm I'm not a big online player. I've just dabbled in it through the years. It's just not something I, first of all, ever have trusted. Second of all, I just like cards in my hand. I just like to be at a table, the social hour of it. I like to play in person. And like you, my closest poker room may be a little bit further away, 3 hours away. Uh,
Wow,
yeah, but that's it's a lot to get to the live game.
it
So
really is.
if poker online was a better option, I would be playing it. But I've just never have felt it's a safe endeavor. But let's talk about this whole thing with ACR. And I'm going to be real honest with you. I've been traveling the last few days, so I've not read everything on Twitter that's been posted and so on and so forth. So I may get some of it wrong. But just to recap, of course, over the last year, 2 years, whatever, 10 years, there is a story that comes out every so often about cheating in the online industry, right? And of course, ACR came out recently and challenged um, someone to so-called break into their system, let's say, and do a bot and prove that they have a bot in place. Can you speak to that onto that subject for us and put it in layman's terms for someone with like me who hasn't followed the story this week, if you could, Cal?
Yeah, absolutely. So this all stems from a 2+2 post that was uploaded, I believe, around Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe a few days earlier, and it highlighted a group of suspected bot MTT players. Um, it short scoped all of them, and if indeed all of the suspected players are actually bots, then the data has shown that they have taken approximately $10 million in earnings out of the poker ecosystem via their botting players. Now, again, this is all assuming these are all actually bots. Smarter people than me agree that it does look like a bot. Obviously, it's hard to speak with certainty because we're not at that person's computer seeing if it's really a person there or not. But let's work under the assumption that where there is smoke, there is indeed fire. Now, it's define what a bot is. So, first of all, a bot is in no way hacking into the client itself. So there isn't any indication that somehow it can see someone's cards or see equities of a hand, or gain some sort of additional information. Instead, what it's doing is the bot basically imitates a human. Now, the reason that's important is because, first of all, humans are emotional beings. We're not capable of playing a perfect strategy all the time. And so, what the bot does is it's given a strategy that it is supposed to abide by, and then it will play that strategy out. Another reason why that's important is because bots are humans and don't need to take a break. So theoretically, if you have a bot that is a winning player, and you can just turn it on and have it play 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that person can make a lot of money from that bot and not be doing anything other than just have a computer on. Also, I think we can all agree that when we sign up to play a tournament or a task game online, we all work under the assumption that the other players at the tables are real human beings. And that is the way the game is intended to be played. So what ACR posted was they're very confident that botting is not a widespread problem on their software. We can argue whether that is in fact the case or not, but what the challenge was, create a bot that will simply play 5,000 hands. Doesn't have to win. It doesn't have to be good. It just simply needs to play. And the reason I'm highlighting that is because when they posted that, I was very interested in what the particulars of the challenge being offered were. Exactly what were the criteria. This is actually kind of a common thing in the business world. Companies will put on like competitions, and it's like a white hat hacking. This isn't really hacking. This is
Right.
more exploitation. But this is a very common thing in companies. They'll actually put together a an event where people will fly in and try to break their system. And so this isn't unheard of. Generally, you won't post it on social media. You would do it in more of a controlled environment. But that this is kind of the stage that is available to people that are able to play on a worldwide site. So I understand it. But what I did was I reached out to Chris Moneymaker, just asking for some clarification. And that was when I learned that it doesn't need to win, it just simply needs to play poker. I sent it to my business partner and my friend Matt. Was just like, hey, what do you think? We were kind of almost joking about it. And next thing, one thing leads to another, and he is able to build something that works to the specifications that they posted. Um, and now we are in the process of gathering the required proof in order to hopefully win this challenge, but more importantly, help ACR find possible flaws in their system that can be, you know, have those flaws rectified. And, at the end of the day, that should be what we're most interested in. We should be most interested in finding ways to make the system safer. And I think, at least I hope, that we are doing it. We did kind of oscillate back and forth on whether this was something that we even wanted to attempt just from an ethical standpoint. Um, But what we ended up deciding was if we could find a way to do this, then we could be part of a solution to a problem that we are deeply concerned about.
Well, and KL, like what I want to know is if you guys win this 100K, are they going to add that to your Hendon mob? I mean, it only seems fair, right?
I mean, to be fair, it would go on Matt's Hendon mod, but I will certainly reach out to Eric at Hendon and see if they want to add that as a little asterisk. Hey, by the way, this guy has 100K from from this challenge. Yeah, like I said, I really unfortunately I can't get into too many details about the logistics and the technical side of the bot that is being constructed right now because we are still in the proof gathering phase. But we are very confident that this was not as difficult as perhaps originally assumed it would be, which even if we don't get the challenge, or even if we don't win the 100K or whatever, I think just simply bringing attention to the fact that this wasn't as difficult as originally assumed, that is a big win, in my opinion.
I'm just going to tell you that I am so overwhelmed right now with emotions and questions, and I'm sure those that are listening are probably as well. Um, you guys must be absolute brainiacs that you were able to so quickly do exactly what they challenged, and so impressive with that. But on the other side of that, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it was so easy to do, like when you have the knowledge to be able to do it, of course. But it was so easy, and why was it so easy, and why didn't their so-called security systems um prevent it?
And that's part of the information gathering phase. I think the real the real the really interesting thing about this whole experience has been um, a the the discussion about kind of what this challenge looked like, and then B also I think the larger discussion that the community is starting to have um, is what we should be proud of because at this point the community is beginning to understand that um, the ecosystem isn't entirely what we assumed it was. I think there's a lot of people that had their misgivings or their assumptions, but maybe didn't have concrete evidence or strong anecdotal evidence, I guess, would be a better way to put it. And now with this 2+2 thread and then this conversation over the last 24 hours or so, I think we've moved ourselves as a community into a positive place of finding ways to isolate the issues of which, they are not simple. They are not easy. They are not manageable as far as flip a switch and everything's okay. These are big, complicated problems because at the end of the day, bad actors are going to get very creative in how they try to exploit a system. And so we can find, if we can continue to make that conversation the kind of the tip of the spear with this, then I think that is where the real value from this entire episode really is derived.
Well, you give me great hope with those statements, Kale. um, Great hope indeed. And of course we all know that those bad operators, so to speak, that you know don't want to do good in the world, they want to do bad in the world, are always out there waiting to hack the system, so to speak. And so you give me great hope that this is moving the pendulum in the right way. Um, if you had a meeting tomorrow morning with the folks at ACR or any other operator in that type of business, what would be like your top, let's say, three talking points that you would feel are the most important to address with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first and foremost, I think that the first line of defense has got to be knowing and understanding GTO, game theory optimal, because by and large, the the bots and the people who were employing real-time assistants are using a very heavy game theory optimal approach because game theory optimal is going to be profitable over the long term against really most of the player pool. And that's the beautiful thing about bots is that you can get to the long term really, really quickly because they can play a lot of tables and they don't need to sleep. And so I think understanding RTA really is a massive first step because if we can build systems that view player tendencies and then compare that to known and then privately built, by the company or by other individuals who make their databases available. If we can compare player tendencies to game theory optimal databases, what we can do is we can find people who essentially are just playing too perfectly. They're playing too accurately. And if you're playing too accurately over a reasonable sample size, what we can do is we can flag that account. And we don't need to ban people immediately, but instead what we can do is we can reach out and say, hey, we need to actually physically watch you play poker. And that's when, human beings can get involved and do some sort of video, on video screen capture with a camera watching the player play. And basically just watch them play for a session. They don't even need to talk or explain their reasoning or anything like that. They just need to match or get close to a similar accuracy of theory. If they are able to do that, awesome. They are in the clear. Obviously, they are just an insanely good player who's put the work in and they know and understand what theory wants to do in a wide array of situations. But if you've got a player that's like 90% perfect, and then you put them on a video, and now all of a sudden they're like 70, 60% perfect, or even less, you just want to learn those going off. Okay, is this person having a bad day? Maybe we can schedule another session. Well, do they stop playing? Or do they keep playing and immediately go back to that really high accuracy rate? All of these things are really not that terribly difficult as far as implementation. They're just time consuming and expensive. And at the end, the way we can stop RTA on the front end by demanding that publicly available database sites, just like Rangestream Pro does, have a time delay. We can help stop it on the front end, but we can also mitigate it and hopefully ban players who do it on the back end with some sort of private database that they have access to, that doesn't have a time delay or something. Because the thing about theory is if you've got good inputs, the solutions look pretty similar over over a wide spectrum of situations. So even if you don't have access to the exact database that they're using, you can get a really good idea and a really good big picture of what their profitability should look like, just simply by comparing hand histories that they play to a database that you know is accurate.
I have just one more quick question that's
Mm-hmm.
just popped into my mind. Then we're going to get to ASG. Um, and you may not even know the answer to it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you know how many online players there are in a 24-hour period of time?
I have no clue. And I'm assuming you mean across all operators? Is that accurate?
Yes, yes.
I mean, it's really hard to say because um, obviously you've got players that would be playing multiple sites at a time, so you're gonna have some stuff there. I know the ACR and GG and I believe Poker Stars all do have like a currently online in their clients. I don't know what those look like, but they obviously, for the ones that are unavailable or that are available to me, um, those are able to be looked at. But I'm like I said, I'm in the States, so I can't pop on Poker Stars and GG and hey,
Right.
what's everybody doing? But if you like put a gun to my head and said, "KL, make a guess now," I mean, I'm gonna guess 250 to 400,000 players, across all sites
Oh, yeah,
worldwide. And I could be way off. I mean, that's a literal pure guess. So
right. And
please,
the reason I'm
somebody
asking
correct me.
is because when you're talking about, some of the resolution, I'm thinking, wow, there's quite a few people on the applications across the board, and you know how long is it going to take to verify, and to have that program running and verifying the GTO compared to the person that's or to verify that it is a person to by verifying their GTO. So I was just curious. I'm going to go ahead and let ASG have a moment to ask a question or make some comments. Go ahead, ASG.
Okay, yeah. Sorry if I missed it. I did come in a tiny bit late, but your partner who made this bot, was it a GTO bot or did it play suboptimally?
It had zero strategy. That was not part of the challenge.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we stuck to what the challenge requirements were, nothing more.
Okay. And then when you're talking about playing GTO, it seems like a lot of these bots may possibly have like scrape the data of like thousands and thousands of whatever online hands and aren't playing GTO, but are actually playing like max exploit against the average user. So how would you find those kind of bots?
So it's actually pretty manageable to do. What you would do is you would run solutions where you would node lock. So what node locking does is it allows you to, um, I'll just give a really dumb example. Let's say that population 90% of the time when they turn a flush in position after c-betting small on the flop. Let's say the vast majority of the time they check the turn back. I'm not saying they do, I'm just using that as an example. What you can do is obviously theory just doesn't do that. That doesn't make any sense. You have a good hand, you should bet your value by and large. But what you can do is you can tell the solver, hey, population, like the villain in this hand, is doing this thing. And you can tell it to kind of like deviate on villain's play. And then what it will do is for hero, it will make the appropriate adjustments. So it does make it a little bit more complicated because you have to start kind of making assumptions about population tendencies, but it is very doable and very manageable with enough information because you're right. What they've done is they've taken millions and millions of hands from users plus basically every site that allows you to get your hand histories, and they've built those population tendencies. So then what you can do is you can just run the solve based on what those tendencies are and get a better output. And what it does is you end up creating, so that's what we've done for Rainstorm Pro. We've actually created separate databases. You got a straight GTO database, but then our blind versus blind, which I'm working on right now and building out, that is it's a different solve because blind versus blind is a significant enough of a different game as far as playing and what kind of what your decision making wants to look like versus oh, I raised cutoff, the blind defends, and now we're heads up. Blind versus blind is kind of a different animal. It's like playing heads up basically. And so what we did was we created an entirely new solution just for our blind versus blind trees, so that way they actually were useful instead of just being cookie cutter and matching the rest of the situations. So it would be the same idea.
So, on a related note, has you or anybody else created charts of like what live play looks like and how to play against that versus online play?
Um, oh, you mean like theory charts and things like that?
Yeah, like how live nobody check raise bluffs. So if they check raise, you should fold, or like like
Yeah, so that's fair. Um, so at Rainstorm Pro for our product, we've made the conscious choice to stick purely to theory, and our reasoning for that is this: your location, the type of game that you're playing, the here's a really good example: Texas games versus say Tunica, very different games. I think anybody reasonable would say that. So we don't want to create a situation where we're having to make assumptions. Instead, what we want to do is we want to stick to the hard data that we know for a fact is accurate. And for that, for us, that is pure theory, pure GTO. Obviously, we always encourage people when they're using our service, hey, learning the theory, that's your first step. I don't know if you remember when you were in grade school, you, you you get taught the rules of grammar, right? You get taught that it don't put a comma here, or use a semicolon for this list, but a series of commas for that list, right? But eventually, you get to a point where you get into like creative writing, and you get to kind of start breaking those grammatical rules in order to write something easier to read and more interesting. Well, you couldn't really break the rules until you first knew what the rules were. And that's what GTO is. When you learn theory, you're learning the theory so that you know the rules, kind of you know the guidelines, you know the big picture stuff. And then whenever you're doing something different from what theory wants you to do, you have a really good solid understanding as to why you're doing it. And you understand, oh, I know that theory wants me to do this, but my opponent would always do this, so I'm going to deviate in this manner. But hey, you couldn't have known to deviate if you didn't first know what the theory was. And so whenever I don't really coach much anymore, but whenever I did, I would always tell people you have to know your pre-flop ranges, dead. You have to know them cold. You need to be able to say them in your sleep on repeat, just on instinct. After that, you have to have a good, solid understanding of theory in a broad sense, so that way you can effectively break the rules and increase your win rate.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was playing a mix Hold'em PLO, and I'm a PLO player, and I got to blind versus blind. I'm in the small blind with King 8, and I'm like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I don't know anything after that. So I got into some trouble. Anyway.
Hey, trust me, I still have that. And it is, and that's why the game is great, though, right? Because it is complicated, it is hard. There isn't really always one right answer. In fact, often there isn't a right answer at all. There's just like an answer that is maybe less wrong or more right than others. But at the end of the day, that's what's fantastic about the game, and that's why I continue to remain optimistic and excited.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ASG. Always a pleasure to hear comments and questions, and appreciate you joining us. Um, I, Brian, do you have any questions? I don't want to leave you out.
Well, I just want to say too, like I think that just the group of people that KL came into the community and surrounded himself with, all people like that are solid people. I don't know if you know Ryan and these people, Sherry, but like just
I do.
super nice people. Like some of the, you know, I've I mean, Ryan and I, KL, Ryan and I had a a a a, a time. We were playing this tournament. It was early in a World Series event, and we just went to war. I think just for fun, and then we went to dinner, and Ryan sat there and told me how terrible my play was. I'm like, an equity. He's like, what do you think I have there? Like, I'm like, well, I was ahead. Yeah, but now when you figure that I have the turn in the river to hit my combo draw that I have to have to stick
Yeah, and that's what I love about Ryan. It's he's got that Minnesota niceness to him, but
Yeah.
also that like that bluntness of hey, I mean I'm not gonna sugarcoat this for you. But I'm gonna give it to you straight because I think that you can be better. And that's what I love about him. For me personally, um, we have a fantastic relationship. Obviously, we're he's one of my best friends in the space now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I have two Ryans. They're my best friends, Ryan Lang and Ryan LaPlante, and both of them are sickos. But they what I love about both of them is they care deeply about the game, and they care deeply about others caring as much about the game as they do. And when you put those two things together, it's really powerful.
Now, Sherry, if this year, I think that instead of sending a heroin addict to the World Series, we should get that started for KL. Get KL back there at the World Series this summer. What do you think?
Well, you know what? He may be a part owner of $100,000 bounty here in the
Oh
next
yeah,
24 hours.
yeah. Let's see.
Um,
Uh,
Let's see.
it's possible. We don't want to get the cart in front of the horse. Obviously, funds are fantastic, and I'll be the first to admit that a chunk of change would really matter to me because me and my family are not in a situation where we can just go to Vegas for the summer. As I'm not gonna rehash it. Everybody,
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people have seen. I've done numerous threads about traveling and the challenges and the obstacles and if you're interested, uh, obviously those are on my Twitter. But at the end of the day, whether we end up getting a bounty or not, what we're really interested in is driving the conversation to a place where this issue is getting the attention that it requires in order to find a solution that it deserves. And if we can be a part of that, then we win.
God bless. You have spoken the truth. I could not agree more. I've invited AAA to come up, and you have a comment or question.
Yes, thank you very much for having me up. I appreciate your time. KL, I just had a question regarding the bot. Was your friend responded to yet by any chance? I know Chris is dealing with some stuff personally, but I just want to know if there has been contact between, and if not, if I could help maybe facilitate that. Just a little background on myself. I was a poker dealer for over a decade. I worked with some of the best tour directors around, and I've dealt to the biggest of name pros. So, I mean, it's not like I can't get in touch with certain people. So, just let me know if there has been any contact made, if you're aware.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, first of all, for your years of service as a player who doesn't get to play live very often, but when I do, obviously the dealer is literally the most important part, other than my dad, who is assisting me at the table. So thank you on behalf of players. You probably don't get told thank you nearly enough. You guys are fucking fantastic. As to your question, we're in conversation. We have been conversing privately with folks from ACR. That is one of the reasons why I'm not going to speak in depth about things right now, because, as I mentioned, we are still in the information gathering phase of everything. But eventually, I promise, anybody who knows me is fully aware I am a full disclosure person. And so we will be doing a long form post release video. We haven't decided exactly what, but we will be doing something that gives the TikTok, as they say, the kind of the order of events. We will not be leaving anything out when that happens. We will discuss successes, failures, absolutely everything, because at the end of the day, uh, the only way that people can have, the only way that people can feel confident in me and by extension Matt is for us to be open once that time arrives. So I'm really sorry I can't give you all the nitty gritty details from today, but I promise that in the coming days and weeks we will eventually do a full accounting of everything. I've taken extensive contemporaneous notes so that way I don't forget anything, and we will be sharing things with the community.
No, all right, that's great. Just because I have personal numbers of both Nitty and Tony, so I mean, I'd be able to reach out on that front if need be. But no, I appreciate what you're doing, and I remember Black Friday and all that and everything that occurred, and the part of my language shit show that was. So no, I completely understand where you're at and what you need to do to, dot your I's and cross your T's. So, no, I appreciate it, and just looking forward to hearing later on. So, hope everybody has a great new year, and enjoy the rest of your evenings.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us. Thank you. Kale, how long did it take from the moment you and Matt decided to tackle this feat until it was complete? How long did it take you guys?
Well, it's all Matt, as far as the development. I don't want to speak on his behalf because I honestly don't know how much he slept. So I can't give you a good answer on that. I know that it was not as much time as most people are assuming, but that will be part of the full accounting when we
Awesome.
do end up doing that.
I will look forward to that. Um, welcome to the chat, Karen. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Okay, yeah. Hey, Kale, this is all so interesting. And I was wondering if you have a sense of how pervasive the bot problem is. Like, for example, on ACR, like what percentage of the players are bots? And also, I'm curious if these bots work on both browsers or like on ACR. They have a software an app that I use. So I was just curious because a friend of mine said, "Oh, they didn't think the bots could run on the web-based ones, but it seems like they would be able to."
So unfortunately, I don't have information about that. I am I'm not in the ACR ecosystem. I don't have contact with folks who work there. Much to my chagrin. I want to be an asset and a force for good. So I just don't know those numbers. I can only relate or direct folks back to the 2+2 um, forum. I'm sorry, I lost the word. I didn't say it. The 2+2 post, which obviously it gives dozens of possible screen names, but again, the evidence seems to be uh, copious as far as the hand histories. I have looked at those hand histories, and there is something there. The question is there in fact fire where that smoke exists? And so that's kind of the major issue right now is uh, there's known unknowns and then there's unknown unknowns. And we are in the unknown unknowns phase, if you will. We kind of don't really have a good handle on what those percentages look like. Having said that, I do think it's worth noting that um, these rings are highly incentivized to play the highest easy situations. And so whether we know what those EV situations are, I can't say because I just simply don't have the data. But I think that it's fair to make some assumptions. They're going to go after higher buy-ins. They likely will go after more medium-sized MTT fields because that's going to lower the variance for them, which will increase their win rate. Basically, the bigger the field, the more bullets you have to dodge, figuratively speaking. And so it would make sense if, for someone to be using this to make money, that they would want to increase the amount of money that they can make. Because, like I said, they can run these bots all the time and they don't have to sleep, they don't have to eat, they don't have to go to the bathroom. They can just sit there and make, even if they're only making $2 or $3 an hour, um, you add that up over several, that turns into quite a bit. So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you, but maybe kind of having a little bit more comfortableness about, hey, it's probably not your $11 20Ks that are going to be massively filled with an infestation of non-player players, if you will. It's probably going to be like your 215 10Ks and your 600 20Ks or 30Ks, just because that's where your ability to make the most reliable money comes from. I could be wrong. I'm open to being wrong. I'm open to changing my mind with more data, but just on my educated best guess, that's kind of where my head is.
I appreciate your perspective. I kind of had two questions in one. My other one was, but a friend of mine was saying, "Oh no, these bots can't run on browser based." sites, which I found that hard to believe. And what is your thought on that?
Yeah, no, they absolutely can.
Yeah, she didn't really have a technical reason. We were just talking about it, and that was her sense of it. She plays on Global a lot, so I think she was wanting to feel safe over there.
So global, I will say, um, has, in my opinion, done a relatively good job. But I think the problem is that eventually, um, the newness wears off and people start figuring stuff out, if that makes sense. The bad actors start kind of finding the holes and the 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 flaws in the armor, if you will. And global is still relatively new, still relatively young. I don't know or have any evidence that this is a prevalent problem with them. In fact, I've not heard really much of anything that would indicate that it is. But having said that, the fact, saying something like um, being on a web-based app is just makes it impossible is not really technically accurate. In fact, there's some evidence that the mobile apps with like private home game clubs and things like that, those are the most dangerous because they are incredibly easy to circumvent any security whatsoever. So Obviously, Global does not fall under that category, and I play on Global. I feel comfortable playing on Global, and I would encourage other people if they do want to play on online that is a viable option. But as with anything, play at your own risk, and only if you're comfortable with the amount of risk that you have to take on.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for all that. Maybe I'll play you sometime on Global. I play on there too. Look for Karen Chess.
I will on high end, so hopefully we battle it out heads up.
Get him, Karen. Get him. Thank you for the question, Karen. Uh, how I was listening to some folks earlier, and I'll get you in just a second on. Um, I was listening to some folks earlier, and some of them were alluding to the fact that they felt that this could be like an inside job, so that the operator can get a bigger rake. So, give me your feel or your comments about that as a theory.
I I don't I don't want to dismiss it out of hand because I don't think that's reasonable, but I don't think it's a high enough likelihood to invest a bunch of mental energy into it, if that makes sense. I
That
just
makes
think
100% sense.
And I think that these operators are making so much money that they would have to be absolutely suicidal in order to do that. Because if it ever did come out that that happened, first of all, they're just done. They're dead. I mean, why would you give up, a multi-billion-dollar a year business or whatever the revenue is for an extra 20 or 30%? I just can't imagine that those economics make sense. Um, it's just one of those things where I understand folks that maybe feel that way and are really convicted on it. And I understand the logic and I understand why people think that way. I think if we're assuming people are rational actors, that the risks so far outweigh the reward that it would just be absolute suicide to
I
do that.
totally agree with you, but I just wanted to get your perspective. Um, we go ahead, ask your questions or offer your comments, and then I'll bring up ASG. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, guys. Hi, KL. How are you, sweetheart? I mainly just came up to say hello to KL. We got some history. We got a few years together. And
Indeed. I hope you're well.
I hope you're doing well, you and the family. And I'm really glad to see wake up to like all the information on poker Twitter this morning and see that you and I forget his name, the gentleman that
Matt.
Matt.
His
yeah,
partner, Matt. His partner, Matt.
yes. I was really personally, I was really excited to wake up and see that, and mainly because I saw it with someone that I like. I know you guys are probably getting a lot of mixed responses or mixed opinions from people overdoing this, but I have a lot of like faith and trust in you personally. But that's because, I know you on a different level than just some random that may come across the post and read it, and they're already like pissed off and angry that this is even a thing and it shouldn't exist, right? So there's already some they're already kind of standoffish about all of it. But seeing that and the two of you, I don't know if you were working together with it or if it was just him and you just kind of did some assistance at some point with it, but it like this stuff needs to get done. Like the shit needs to be rid of on the platforms and from the ecosystem online, and not just this, but all of like the unethical horseshit that's going on, colluding, RTA, it all needs to go. It needs to go. So, yeah, thanks for putting yourself out there with doing that, KL. I wouldn't have been able to do it, but I'm glad that you did.
I've said it before, and I'll, I'll restate it one last time. At the end of the day, we're we're hopeful that the conversation is meaningful and is able to move us in a direction that we can all feel more safe and uh, more excited about playing online poker more. I don't think this is uh, something that is limited to one operator, and it's certainly not limited to only gray market sites. It's we've seen issues with fully regulated sites as well.
Oh
But
yeah,
having
I
said
think
all that,
it's a
yeah,
lot more. It's a bigger issue than I think a lot of people realize. It's not any singular platform. It's everywhere.
absolutely, and I think you're 100% correct. Uh, the real first step, at least in my mind, I know that I'm very, very unobjective, biased on this. But I think the real first step in this is finding ways to automatically using a combination of AI and other technologies to compare player tendencies to theory optimal play. And if we can get to a point where we can basically leverage AI to do that, we can take a massive first step in hopefully uh, I'm under no illusion that we'll ever get rid of it entirely, but we can make it small enough and rare enough occurrence that it is something that people are comfortable with moving forward. And I think we have to be both diligent and purposeful, but we also have to be realistic in what our goals are. And I think if we can do those three things, which are obviously not easy, but if we can do them and do them well, I think we can make a massive impact.
I think we probably, everyone in this room can agree with those statements for sure. We pro thank you for the comments. Before I move on to ASG, I just want to give our sponsor, Elevated Results, a little shout out. If you need to lose weight or gain weight this New Year's, reach out to Elevated Results and they will help you do either or just get in shape. ASG, go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I guess this is going to be more of an opinion, but you can, I guess, respond when I'm finished. But regardless of if it is an inside job or not, like the fact is, the sites do get rake from all these bot accounts, and they do meet and crush guarantees assisted by these bot accounts. And unless if there's some kind of poker player union or something that the high stakes players did to get lower rake on when GG went a little too far, then I don't know what incentive the operators have to remove these bots rather than just, take the bad PR if everybody's going to keep playing.
Yes. That's their expense. Yes. Obviously, this has created a symbiotic relationship, intentionally or not. Uh, you know, uh, that's why I don't think we should be under any illusions. This is going to be hard. This is going to be, um, you know, time consuming. There's not going to be massive improvements in a day, a week, a month, or maybe even a year. But if we make small incremental improvements, small incremental changes, eventually the sum will be larger than the individual parts. And I think that is worth facing. Um, it's it's gonna be um it's gonna be hard. That's over it's it. The shit is hard and it's not cheap. But I think you make an excellent point. It's something that Chance Cornelius and other pros have tried in the past to do. We haven't, they haven't been successful. I've advocated for it as well. That some sort of a players union, something that could unite people, and you know encourage change and action. That is 100% what's needed. But poker players are also self-interested, and whenever a bunch of pros say they're not going to play a certain site, the other ones who aren't interested in kind of being the being team players, if you will, are going to be like, oh, all the pros are on. I'm going to go play there because, regular people don't want to play on there. So, like I said, this is super hard. It's super complicated. Maybe I'm delusional for thinking that, there is a ability to succeed where others have failed. But at the end of the day, uh, as Aaron Sorkin wrote in Newsroom, I want to be a greater fool because at the end of the day, the greater fool is the person who does something better for the next generation. And so, if I failed trying, okay, but at least I tried.
Awesome. Thank you for that question, comment, ASG. Kale, earlier there are some new folks in the room that may have not have heard this, but earlier you just described a solution um, or offer up a solution that you think can help, and that was time delay. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So OTA, for those who aren't aware, is real time assistance. Basically, it just means that you're looking at a a computer generated solution of what the optimal play is, and then you're doing what the computer tells you to do because the computer can play perfectly. And that's OTA. the way that a lot of people use OTA with these database software that are out now is they play a hand, and while they're playing it, they just manually input what happens and then react accordingly. Well, when you introduce a time delay, what ends up happening is they run out of time bank with that. And so after that 3 to 4 hands, depending on the site, it gets to a point where they no longer have any time bank and they can no longer input the hand as it occurs. And that creates a situation where now instead of being able to cheat, they are making it impossible because they had no idea what they're supposed to do. And that's kind of the broad strokes of the time delay. Also, just worth mentioning again, it's free to implement and it is easy to implement. It's something that um, everybody can put onto their site right now, just like we have, and it wouldn't cost them a dime, and it wouldn't cost them any customers. I don't think.
And we can all agree that would be a step in the right direction of trying to take care of the issue at large, right? Um, Brian, do you have any other questions or comments?
No, I don't. One of my favorite guests, my friend, for sure.
And I want to give anybody else, we procure and anyone else that's in the listening mode, if you want to hit that request button on the bottom left, we would love to have you come up, make comments, or ask your questions. I see you, ASG. Go ahead, ASG.
So breaking news, I guess. ACR has tweeted that at this time we can confirm that no one has completed the challenge. And they're saying that the challenge requirements were to, 1, create a bot that could pull money out of our player economy. 2, complete at least 5.
That's not true.
Well, that's what they're saying now.
That is not true. In
I'll
So
fact,
pin
I
that
they've
tweet.
changed
clarified.
the rules.
Yeah.
I read
They
what was discussed between KL and Matt. I'm sorry, is that his name, Matt? Yesterday,
yes, no.
when he posted that video and you two were talking to Chris in the thread, none of that was brought up.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so I am aware of that post. We had been in conversation with them prior to this call. This is one of the reasons why I have been hesitant to speak uh, at depth about what we're doing. We're, we soon realized that while we were trying to act in a manner that we were happy about being, we thought was ethical, we reached out and said, "Hey, we've got this thing working." Um, but what I'm being told is that when we showed them it was working, we hadn't gotten to the 5,000 hand mark, and we showed them our screen name. And so we're unsure if we didn't get to the 5,000 hands because they saw our screen name or if their detection caught us. So I'm being very deliberately quiet because we're confident we can do this and we're trying again in a different manner that will be much more difficult for them to say was not completed. But as far as the point of it being profitable, that was never part of the challenge. The challenge was it simply had to build a bot that functioned. And that was what was built. We built a bot
Right.
that played a completely random style. It literally was clicking buttons. That's all it was
Yeah,
doing.
we
It was
pro pinned
just
that tweet that
clicking
said as
buttons.
much.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just going to say, sorry, Sherry. I probably should have asked before I penned it, but I put it up there.
Yeah,
Chris'
you're all good.
exact response to questions that KL and Matt both had regarding this, because reading through, you could tell they were wanting to make sure they fell into line with what the requirements were, and he didn't say anything about that in there.
We appreciate you
yeah.
posting that.
Just I want to be clear that we tried to act in good faith, just basically by saying this is out here, this is being done, but it's unclear whether we were um, it's unclear whether we were uh, shut down because we showed them the screen name, acting in good faith, or because it was actually detected. There doesn't seem to be any indication that it was a warning, saying, "Hey, are you a bot?" But it I don't know. That's the thing. I don't want to level any uh, accusations without proof and without more info. But I'm just saying we tried to be totally upfront and level with the operator, and it's unclear whether that is being reciprocated at this point. But we do believe that there is a way to continue this challenge and complete it. And we are actually going to attempt to make it win money now as well. We have a database at our disposal. I don't know if you know this, but Wayne's Turner Pro helps you win more money. And so uh, we're going through this for a very limited number of hands. The source code will be kept under strict security for this next version, and there's no way that anybody will be able to use what we've done for their own benefit. But at this point, we feel it's important that we continue this challenge and we attempt to essentially jump through any hoops that they've added.
Okay, am I the only one that is internally screaming and shouting, "Let's fucking go, Matt and KL"?
We hope so. Like I said, we're we're very humbled by this, but also we see this as an opportunity to have some real discussions and make some real change. And that's kind of what's motivating us right now. We have zero interest in dunking on an operator or any people associated with any operator. What we're interested in is creating a safer and more inviting environment for all of online poker. And this right now is the vehicle that is available to us.
And we all can hear your sincerity, and we can all probably agree that we feel that you have the best intentions and for a solution and wanting to be part of the solution and work on the solution. I don't think any person in this space or who's going to listen to this space, um, would disagree that your intentions are where they're supposed to be and you're trying to protect the poker world that we all have come to love and play in. So go ahead, Brian. Oh, Brian, did I lose you?
So, sorry about that. I'm busy trying to get KL representation for this tweet.
Let's tweet.
The one for ACR, them changing their rules. This is really
Uh,
interesting. I'm my friend KL may need help. Wait, is it Matt? What's Matt's? Um,
It's Mcelligott.
MCI.
No,
Say that again. Okay. Uh-huh.
Mcelligott.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to sidebar this discussion for a minute. And I asked Veronica earlier today if she could give me something, as far as a question or anything, comments to ask you tonight, KL. So she told me that I should ask you about a possible or alleged drunken moment, falling out of your van, hitting your head, or something like that. Do you know what she's referring to?
It was the night my brother got married. I it was after the reception, obviously, we all then having some drinks, and that was when I had my old vehicle where I had very little headroom getting into the van, and I went up the ramp and didn't wait on somebody to put my head forward to kind of help me dump my head under the frame, and I kind of just smacked my head right on the frame, and I just stopped. I went, ow. And then somebody came around behind me and laughed at me, and then kindly put my head forward, and I got in the van. Yes, I had a couple of drinks, but it was totally fine,
It
as
was
my good
probably a good
friend.
thing you had some drinks so you didn't feel that knot on your head till the next morning.
Exactly.
Brian, tell us what you were tweeting, sir. Oh, he may still be involved.
Yeah, I'm still tweeting.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments for KL? Please click on that request button on the bottom left. Kieran or WePro, you have any other questions or comments?
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm currently doing the same as Brian and barking up someone's ass in a post.
Yeah.
I love it. Everybody's banding together for a
Yeah,
good cause.
we're tweeting. Yeah. I sent it to Mac, who does a lot of gaming stuff. So hopefully that gets their attention. Because I mean, like, how do you, when they issued this challenge, KL, like I immediately thought the way they did it was like really not the way you do it, because it wasn't like Chris went out there and defined things very well and certainly left things very open. And in the case of them claiming that now the thing has to make money, I mean the tweet from last night, is pretty clear. The bot, Chris says the bot has to make actions. It has to play poker. It doesn't have to win, but it has to function on the site. So,
And
you know,
it's also worth pointing out that the original challenge didn't stipulate that it needed to scrape the screen in any way either. And see, like that's my I've worked with Matt for a really long time. He's a developer at heart, and
yeah,
as such, has a developer's mind. And a developer's mind is going to build what they're asked to build to the exact specs
right, right,
of
right. Yeah,
of the request. There was no
yes,
request for that whatsoever. So what you built was a tool, a thing that literally just pushed buttons. Now, obviously, there does appear to be a tiny bit of moving the goalposts. Having said that, we we're excited about trying to uh, hit the goalpost no matter what. We're optimistic that we can find a way to do so. In fact, if anything, it has kind of fired up my man a little bit more because he was not super interested in this in the beginning, but now he is gotten to the point where it's kind of a gotten him more excited and more interested in finding a way to make this a thing. So it may end up being a negative thing, really, just because for operators, just because now we have a really really smart guy who usually has his white hat on, but now he's got his black hat on, and I've never seen him with that on, and so I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit worried about my working at it. No, I'm kidding, obviously,
Well,
but yeah.
Kale, I would definitely, if this doesn't work out to your satisfaction, I would definitely, and I don't know if Mac will see that tweet or not. I don't know how much he's on Twitter. I would definitely look him up if you need him, and he
Oh,
would be
I'm
somebody.
very familiar with Matt. He actually
Okay,
helped us. He helped
okay,
us form our LLC when we launched Range Champ Pro. So
yeah. So
I wouldn't go so far to say he's my lawyer, but I would feel comfortable reaching out. But like I said, that's not our primary goal with this.
right.
Obviously, for me personally, um, a large chunk of money would be really, really impactful for my life because I would get to go to the WSOP this summer. ACR has been supportive of me in the past. They actually sponsored me uh, in 2021 and 22 to allow me to go out there and help me pay for my travel expenses. Um, but at the same time, we're primarily interested in helping make this a better space and hopefully increase the belief and the foundation in the system.
Yeah, I think I mean that's awesome. I just don't like how they handle this whole thing. Like they shouldn't have just rushed out there. The other thing too, like that's really weird to me. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people seem to like whenever any of this stuff happens, like Chris seemed moneymaker. He seemed like, oh, I got all this stuff, and it's like he's somehow the guy that's like supposed to be fixing this. Like, I don't know where that comes from, honestly. Like, going back to even recently, a lot of people like still don't like Phil Hellmuth because he was involved with UB. But if you really listen to what went on, like he had no idea. He's the guy on the commercial. Like, okay, yeah, like maybe after that you could blame him for, when he should have known, then he kept representing them if that's the angle you want to take. But like I just don't see like what Chris Moneymaker has to do with
Well, and we just
the
have to
whole thing.
remember Chris is a paid spokesman. Chris is a paid
Yeah,
spokesman and he's doing his job, and we just have to recognize he's doing his job as a paid spokesman. And
yeah.
we don't know what he feels in his heart and soul about this because he's a paid spokesman. So, I think it's deeper than that, and I think he's just the front guy, and he had to be in front of the camera today because he's the front guy. Um,
I mean, I
and
could speak on this from personal
go
experience,
ahead,
Carrie,
please.
like as an ex-employee of ACR. And yes, that's exactly right. Like a lot of the times, as an employee, in like with content creating and promotions, marketing and stuff that we do on the, with ambassadors and affiliates, we don't know about a lot of this stuff that's going. I had no idea. I worked there for years and had no fucking clue whatsoever about a lot of stuff that was going on in the back end, none whatsoever. And there is a very high likelihood it's the same for him and everybody else that is employed by them on here as an ambassador and or affiliate. They don't give us that. They didn't then, at least. I'm pretty sure it hasn't changed since when did I leave? 2022, like a year and a half ago. I'm pretty sure it hasn't changed since then. It's still the same. Like they keep the, business security shit on one side, and the, those of us that do the whole promoting them and content creating on the out, like they're different. Sorry, I didn't mean to get all ranty.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
No worries, son. I appreciate you sharing that with us. It's your experience, and you know, it is what it is. We appreciate you sharing it. But I just feel like him and even Ebony or even Rob Coon. They're just people getting paid to do a job, and they're spokespeople. Um, and
Well, Rob can. No, I'm just kidding.
yourself, stop
Oh, I'm gonna leave that
yourself,
one alone.
stop
uh,
yourself,
just teasing.
stop
He
yourself.
he means well. He means well. I'm
Stop
just
yourself. We're gonna just keep moving on down the
Time
road here.
and place, and I know that, and that's what I'm doing.
Right on,
yeah.
sister. Kale, what is your dream for a solution? Like what do you see the how long do you see this process taking, and are you hopeful that once something's put in place that it's gonna, the wall or the dam will be shored up? We know there's hackers out there every day, but what's your feeling about long term?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we have to be realistic that this is going to be a long term, continual problem that you know it's not going to be all right. It's fixed. We're good now. Because, like you said, bad actors are just as motivated as the good actors are, and so it is going to be a continuing battle. It's going to be a push pull, and when people think there's something out, you have to find it and then find a way to stop them. But I think that what it comes down to is thinking creatively about how we can leverage technology in the same way that bad actors are, and leverage it in order to find them and stop them. And like if we can create a system that is capable of doing that, where we are basically using technology as it exists day to day, and leveraging improvements in technology, we can create systems that find ways to cut them off at the pass, basically. And that is where the hope should be. It's about using what's at our disposal to to fight bad actors and then anticipate where they're going to be next. I'm a big believer in AI. I'm a big believer that it can and should be used as a force for good in the world. And I think this is just one of the many ways in which AI can be leveraged to even the playing field, and put the good guys, if you will, on the same playing field as the bad guys.
Yeah, I think it's hard, KL. Like I think you catch the dumb guys really easy. I think catching people that are really smart about it, which I don't really want to dive too far into. Um, like I think it would be very hard. I think it would be very hard. It'd be interesting to sit and have a conversation about this like privately, because I mean there's a lot of I think there's ways that people, no matter what you do, it's going to be very, very hard.
Yeah, and that's why I want to be really clear. I don't think it's reasonable for anyone to say that we can ever eradicate it completely. Uh, cheater's going to cheat. But I think that we can make it such a low likelihood, such a low instance of cheating that people begin to accept that as a reasonable level of risk. And though that's, I think, where the value comes from in getting to that point. Because, like you said, there are literally dozens of ways, if not hundreds of ways, that you can make a dumb bot or a dumb tool that will play poker. But all of those dumb things end up being just version one or two of the smart thing. And that's the issue. And so that's that's kind of where my head is. Let's build a bunch of these dumb things so we can have a good database of ideas on how people are trying to be bad actors. And then from that, we can we can move into finding ways to build the smart things. And that's what I'm hoping. I don't know if that's what we'll get, but that's what I'm hoping.
I think the one tell too is operators that say that it's not possible to it's not possible to have like they're just like 100% you cannot do it. It's not possible or that kind of thing. Like because you and I both know in technology you can't say that. That's why like I have a lot of respect for Nick when Nick Vertucci when he says, "Hey, look, like uh I don't know that that somebody has never cheated at my game, and that kind of thing." So um because you don't ultimately know. It's like proving the moon isn't made out of cheese. You had your hand up, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I did, and then I put it down because I felt like my comment was just kind of going backwards, and I don't think that's what anybody really wants to do. So, um, yeah, I'm good. Thank you, though.
Sorry.
It must be opening a lot of wounds for you, We Pro, and certainly those of us that have spoken with you in the spaces or in real life get that. We understand it's opening wounds.
I've actually um, gotten a lot better over the last like 18 months or 2 years, however long it's been. Initially, it was really tough, but I think enough time has gone by that um, I know I'm okay. So, yeah, and yeah, it sucks. It does kind of rehash some things, but it sucks even more to see someone that I consider a friend, like KL, basically getting shit on with ACR's recent post, knowing that they followed exact requirements that were given to them yesterday. That's what upsets me.
Yeah, and that is frustrating. I'm trying to
You want me to
measure
punch him in the groin for you, honey?
what's
I,
that?
I was asking if you want me to punch him in the groin for you. Um,
No, no, no. I'm more of a I'm more of a
you're a lover, I
pro-
know.
I'm more of a prove them wrong and let them live. Let
Well,
them have to recognize
there's
the wrongness.
definitely a lot of really upset people in the thread right now, like calling them on their bullshit with changing the requirements since yesterday. So hopefully they'll realize how ridiculous that post looks and pull it back.
And I'm going to recommend to everybody that's listening to this or the replay, please go make a comment in that thread and let them know how you feel about them changing the rules. What seems like after somebody has made done the accomplishment that they asked for. So please
Yeah,
do.
I do want to be fully transparent here. Our goal was to complete the task to the letter of what was assigned, not we can't guess what the spirit of the challenge was because we're not in someone's head, right? And so in our effort to remain above board and open and honest about the timeliness in which this was done, we may have made a mistake by divulging the screen name privately. It's possible that by doing so, our first attempt was shut down before we technically
Yeah,
reached the
right.
5,000 hands. We're unsure of that right now. We don't know, and I
Divulging
don't want.
privately, do you mean to like somebody with an ACR, like Moneymaker, or?
I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, you were saying that you may have went against their requirements because of like maybe divulging the
We,
user.
we we didn't get to 5K before we sent a message. We
Uh,
had been
Letting them
running
know.
for about
and
a
they may
thousand
try to
hands.
use that. That would make more sense than what they just posted, because what they just posted makes none whatsoever.
Well, and it would be honestly, like you said, the spirit, right? KL,
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
guys
And
and
we don't know what the spirit of the challenge was
right, but
because all we had to go off of were the specifications that we requested clarification on, obviously, which we've talked about ad nauseum so far. And so yeah, I guess my point is uh, we're trying again because our first attempt was technically shut down before it got to 5. But in all honesty, we can't be sure whether it was shut down because we were trying to act in good faith by saying, "Hey, we're doing this," but uh, you know, we wanted to let you know that we're doing it. Like we did this in a very quick amount of time. In our haste to try to be above board, we maybe kind of made it more difficult on ourselves because we showed them our screen name, which obviously was a mistake. But
well, and I'm going to say when um, in the spirit of why you reached out to them, um, it would be kind of crappy if they used that against you by seeing the screen name and shutting down your operation because of you reaching out to them in the right spirit of the moment. That'd be pretty crappy too. But um, I wish you guys luck with this second attempt, and I know you guys are going to do it because now you guys are more freaking determined than ever, just to prove the point that you can do it. And I just love that.
and like I said, the hope is that this continues to lead to more conversation, more meaningful, attempts to further secure the game, and that's really our goal. I can hear everybody out there. Oh yeah, okay, whatever. You just want the paycheck, blah blah blah. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna say that $100,000 for Matt and I isn't freaking fantastic, but I guess you're just gonna have to trust me that it's not our motivation. Hopefully people know me well enough and believe me, but if they don't, I can't control what other people think about me.
Amen. And I would have to say that your history in the poker world and what you've done to improve the poker world speaks for itself. And I think people will know where your heart is on this matter for sure. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Anybody in the listening mode would like to come up and speak? Please press that button in the bottom left and request a microphone. I just want to give a little shout out to our sponsor, Elevator Results. If you need to lose weight or gain weight this New Year's, reach out to Elevator Results and they will help you with those goals. Thank you. Again, request that microphone in the bottom left corner if you're interested. Karen,
I'm gonna be an asshole. I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
be an asshole and just hey Christian, I miss you, buddy. I hope you're well. I know it's kind of a dick move to call out a listener, but yeah.
What
I
else
saw
is new, KL?
I
We're
saw
used to you being a dick.
I know, right? I'm such a
Such
dick.
an asshole,
Yeah,
gal.
I just saw Christian in the group, and I just wanted to say, hey, buddy, I miss you. And you don't know this, but that photo of you and I from the tag team, we have a digital 27-inch frame that's on our wall, and you're up there on our wall, buddy. So I hope you're well. We miss you, and stay safe and healthy.
Well, since Kale already called you out, hey Christian, glad you joined us. You gonna follow me sometime soon? Go ahead, you have a question or comment?
No. Sorry, I was just waving at
Oh,
Christian.
waving to okay. Everybody's waving at Christian. Hello. Glad you joined us, bud. Oh, that's so fun. Um, unless anybody has any other comments or questions, I think we can go ahead and let KL get on with his evening. I know he has some goals to achieve in the next 24 hours.
Let's go. We want to hear you getting that check there. They need to send you out. Well, that'd be great.
Okay, Ron's requesting. Ron, give it a minute, a couple seconds. You'll click in and go ahead, Ron, whenever you get the connected.
Oh, this is just a quick question for KL. KL, you mentioned trying to use AI for this, and I'm a geek who does cybersecurity and, in fact, run a program doing machine learning for cybersecurity. The problem here is that the red team's always ahead of the blue team. The offense is always ahead of the defense. Do you think there is a way to actually change how it works? And if so, would it kill the ability to have hand histories, which I use to study? I don't really use the HUD to look at my opponents. I use it to try to get better. And I don't want to lose that ability.
Yeah, so I agree that red team versus blue team is is really hard to keep up with the blue team or red team rather as the like. I trust me, I'm 100% on board with that. My perspective is the nihilism that if we can't fix all of it, we shouldn't really invest anything to fix any of it is antithetical to trying to make the game more last longer, make the game more inclusive, make the game higher integrity, if you will. And you know, I want to be really clear again. I'm under no illusions that cheating of any kind will ever be completely eradicated, either online or live, for that matter. I mean, how many times have we seen, evidence that there's cheating in private home games or even on streams, for God's sakes? What my mental state is, for my own sanity, more than anything else, is that we have to be willing to put in effort to at least try to make incremental change. And if we can reduce the prevalence of cheating of any kind, even just a little bit, with a few tweaks, you start adding those tweaks up, and it becomes a real dent in the problem. And we're never going to get rid of 100% of it, but if we can get rid of more than what we have now, then that is at least delaying the death of online poker, or uh, hopefully extending the life or expanding the foundation, the base of online poker. It's hard to say which events are going to happen because hell, we'll probably all be dead and going by the time we ever see the fruit of any of this, of any of this tree. We're never going to be able to figure out kind of exactly uh, how to solve all issues. But if we can make it or we can solve some, that's a win, and it's worth fighting for, and it's worth trying because I really do love this game. This game is fucking awesome. It's fantastic. It's amazing in every way. It's the truest form of non-physical competitiveness we have. But we we should cherish it for what it is. And right now, not everybody is, but we can make those changes. We can make it what they do.
I love your optimism and your gumption and your focus on the issues at hand. And I look forward to you guys coming up with this solution in the next 24 hours, so to speak, and winning that 100,000. But I mostly look forward to you guys getting on staff so that you can make those changes that'll be in the best interest of all of us and make the poker world a better place. So I thank you, KL, for your passion and your conviction, and most of all, your willingness to do it ethically and stand up for what's right, even though sometimes you're the only one whose voice is being heard. And I appreciate you.
I really appreciate the kind words. I I'm hoping I'm hoping that all of this leads to uh, really valuable and meaningful conversations, and we actually see some you know new initiatives coming to into view that lead us to a place where um, we can all feel more comfortable and confident in the integrity of the game that we're playing. And if we can get to a point where, as a community, we can have people that we know to be ethical and of high moral character come on and say, hey, we've seen the changes that have been made by operators. We're we're really, really excited about these changes. Everything may not be perfect, but it's damn good. If we can get to that point, I think we should feel like that's a win. And obviously, it's going to be a constant battle, but it's one worth fighting.
Well, I have confidence in you and Matt and your goals on our behalf. That's for sure. Anybody else have any questions or comments before we shut this space down? Brian?
No, I'm good. Sounds good.
All right. I want to remind everybody of the meetup game in Florida on February 12th. There will be a live feed table. If you want to get in on it, contact me, reach out to me, look at my Twitter account. You'll see all the details. KL, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you and what you're doing. And we will look forward to you releasing the timeline over the next 48 hours or so that we can get a bird's eye view on your path for solutions that will better the poker world for us. So thank you for joining us, Kale.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you very much. And hey, just shameless self promotion. If anybody knows anybody that is looking for somebody to sponsor for this year's WSOP, let me know. I would love to go this year and getting some resources to make that possible would really be a fantastic thing. And I've got quite a few uh, assets that I think I can bring to the table other than just my dashing good looks. But I'd love to speak with anybody. So if anybody's out there got ideas or ways that I can be an asset, please let me know. I would love to chat. Otherwise, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Really solid, Kale. I really appreciate you, and I think that ACR, like that, it sounds like they should be stepping up to the plate with the sponsorship about now. Right?
When
I
you're
think
right, you're right.
that would be a good way to go at it for sure.
I,
Let's
So,
I, I
but
certainly, I
appreciate you.
certainly, I certainly know that I can't make any changes from the outside, but I'm eager to try to make changes from the inside.
and I hope they give you that opportunity, KL. And
One other thing,
go ahead.
Sherry, is you mentioned plug Range Trainer Pro. If you're looking for training, uh, is the application that Kale, Matt, and Ryan put together, and I'm a big
Yep.
fan of them. So
And it's very easy to navigate.
I appreciate that. We
Uh,
means a lot.
I'm somewhat slow and I can navigate it quite well. So I know anyone else is fully capable.
I really appreciate that.
I'm
And
glad.
we have a
Oh,
sale. Uh, NYE24. If you when you check out for new or returning accounts, if you have a current subscription, it's able to be applied. But if you're a new or returning customer, if you use NYE New Year's Eve, we did it, on New Year's Eve. 24. So NYE24, you get 50% off any subscription, monthly or yearly, and that is for the life of your subscription. So it's a massive discount that will be applied for as long as you continue to subscribe.
and remember that code is NYE to get that 50% discount.
NYE24.
24
Yep.
NYE 24 to get that 50% discount on Range Trainer Pro, which is an application to help you learn the GTO. Any other questions or comments? Again, thank you, KL, and thank you, everybody that joined us, listening or chatting with us with your questions and comments. Happy New Year, everybody. Good night.
Good night.